let me have the pleasure, before I surrender this microphone and the role that I'm used to playing, to the wonderful Alia Bhatt. Can we please ask you to open this door and walk through?
I was just standing backstage and I could not wait to run onto stage and say, you have to put the mic down because I'm doing the interview here.
I hate this.
So
I hate
you have
control.
to not be in charge and you have to be okay not being in charge.
I'm going to try.
How are you feeling today?
I am feeling...
You're being
like
interviewed.
That could be a better first question because news people get made fun of all the time by saying, "Aapko kaise lag raha hai?"
Aapko kaisa lag raha hai? No, but that was not my first question. But you're being interviewed by the most intelligent person of the decade. So you must be very nervous. I'm feeling bad for you.
I'm extremely nervous because people who can make a joke about themselves are more intelligent.
But I'm not joking.
Genuinely, I'm talking about your previous video.
Acha.
Wow, I don't think I could have done that. Superstar.
I'm sure you could have done that. Okay, so I'm not going to take too much of your time because it is not every day that I get to interview the Barkha Dutt. So I have to say that I am very honored and I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you.
Because genuinely, first one of my dreams was to be interviewed by you, and that happened last year. And now a dream that I never really thought could be a dream is also come true, that I'm interviewing you. So I'm going to start off by saying thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Because that's what people always say to me, and I think it's very nice that they thank you. Firstly, I have to mention that I have written questions in my hand today because I must share what happened to me before I left the house today. It was a panic situation because my printer crashed. And I was trying to print these questions and put them on cue cards so I can look a little bit, you know, like dignified, like a proper, you know, like a journalist and everything. Because I didn't want to be like the millennial looking from my phone. And my printer crashed, so I started panicking. So my sister very sweetly wrote out all the questions for me.
Here?
She's not here.
Give her
but
our
since
thanks.
this is We the Women, two women, not two women, one woman put together the questions for me at home while I was getting ready very sweetly.
Thank you.
And that brings me to my first question, which is I panicked, thinking that there's no way in hell I'm going to get questions today to ask you physically in front of myself. And I forgot that I can write it down. Oh, I didn't forget, but it didn't occur to me. That's how digital, or that's how technologically dependent we've become.
Right.
So my first question to you is, now you have moved from television to digital. Even today, our interview is happening on Facebook Live. So do you think that going digital, the digital media is the future, or do you think we're just in the middle of a midlife crisis?
No, I think there is definitely a move to digital. I'm not saying television will become redundant, but even television content today is consumed online. So for example, those old days where you sat in front of a television at an appointed hour at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or on the weekend, I don't think anybody except the really old do that anymore, with no disrespect to the geriatrics. So I believe that it's content, and it doesn't matter where that content is because it's being consumed digitally. So whether or not if this was televised, and by the way, it is also being televised on Mirror Now, but the fact of the matter is that before it makes it to TV, it will be consumed online.
Exactly.
And even after it airs on TV, that television content will be consumed on people's phones, on their laptops, on their tablets. So I definitely believe that in this space, we are moving very firmly towards digital. And I see that even in the way you guys do promotions. Like there was a time when you would go studio to studio. Now you're like all tech savvy. You're all doing Facebook Lives. You're all, you know, you give interviews to bloggers, to pure online ventures. And I think that proves what I'm saying.
Yes, but I've still not understood whether there's a way to measure how much of a reach it has. So do you feel that it has as much, because, you know,
It has bigger, digital actually has bigger reach than television because digital tends to be language agnostic. Televisions tend to get categorized into English, Hindi, regional, and digital tends to be a more accessible, especially like WhatsApp, like the really successful, highly consumed content are actually WhatsApp videos, you know?
Yeah.
So like even more than YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or Periscope, and all of this is live on all of those platforms. you will find that short, like we're all learning to be less pompous and less wordy and less lengthy, and we're constantly told, listen, nobody wants to listen to you for so long, yeah. Give your best 30 seconds. So we're learning to adjust to a new age, to your millennial age.
To my millennial age.
Yes.
So you're saying crisper the better?
And shorter attention
Shorter
spans.
the better. So then
And
what's going to happen to the film industry? What's going to happen to movies? We're going to be making short films?
So aren't movies getting challenged by television, for example, or by Netflix or by Amazon? So that's a great example of how content, it doesn't matter what the mechanism is now, it matters where you are accessible to the maximum number of people. And that's why you now have movies, you know, House of Cards, or, you know, even in India now you have Amazon Prime commissioning content that is just for web series.
So I'm sensing from you right now that you feel there are more pros, because that's going to be my next question, that what do you think are the upsides and the downsides of digital media, of going completely digital?
Well, the downside is that digital has less money. You have less, it takes, okay, so the upside is also its downside. It takes less money to start a digital venture. You don't have to go running to big corporate houses or, you know, the fat cats of India to say paisa de do. You can probably just do it, you know, you can get some venture capitalists, you can get some loans, you can start a digital venture, but then when you have to chase a really big story, you don't have that kind of capital to disseminate it. But I believe that as technology changes, and I'll give you a small example, like we're shooting on cameras right now, but I've been in shoots, I've been in news situations. I remember once I was on this warship and we were out on the water and the sun was going down. And my camera person told me that the light is too low. And I took out my phone and I actually did the rest of the shoot on the phone, because the phone's resolution and its capacity to shoot in that low light situation was higher. So as technology changes, as it gets cheaper, we will solve that problem too. But the con is it doesn't have capital to magnify itself, and some of our politicians, especially though they're learning, are just far too behind the curve and fuddy-duddy. You know, they still want that vanity of seeing themselves on TV.
Okay, so recently I was having a conversation with someone about this whole thing with fake news.
Yeah.
How, you know, with the recent US elections, how you know, everything just went completely haywire. And, you know, some interesting points came up. And I thought I must ask you this question, because this is literally your life. What do you feel about fake news after being, you know, such you know, a strong, respected, correct journalist? What do you feel about news that is fake?
So I think news globally is at an inflection point, and there is a kind of crisis, and this is the downside of the digital world. One of the downsides that I spoke as an entrepreneur or as a practitioner, but as a consumer or as a journalist, one of the downsides is that Google can say any shit, right? Wikipedia can say any shit. I was joking in the morning that if you Google Barkha Dutt, you will get 3 husbands for me, as some researcher must have given you, and I've not even been married like once. But they use that to sort of explain my so-called ideological leanings or to understand how I cover Kashmir. Like all bunkum and only women are subjected to this. But it's fake news. I'll give you another more bizarre example. There is a website, I won't name it only because I don't want to give it publicity. I do a lot of reporting in Kashmir, and you know, you're half Kashmiri, and you have roots there, so you know how much I love the place. I went there in a really bad time when there was curfew, and I needed to reach a village, and my car refused to go because the cars were getting stoned by protesters on the streets. But I really had to reach this village where there had been violence and some killings had taken place. So 2 men passed by on a motorcycle, and I said, can you give me a lift till the village? So they said, sure, but you have only 10 minutes there, and then we'll drop you back here because it's too dangerous. I said, okay. So my cameraman and I clambered on the back of these bikes. We didn't know these people's names. They were just kind strangers. They took us to this village. They brought us back. And I came back, when I came back to Delhi a few days later, I saw that this particular website had taken a photo of me on the back of the bike of this guy. He's some Kashmiri kind stranger whose name I don't know. He has a beard. And they said, this is Barkha Dutt riding with Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists to the border to plant a bomb.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then now you think this, I also think it's funny because it's so ridiculous, but people actually started using this and sending WhatsApp forwards, you know. So there is a genuine problem of fake news, and then there is the crisis of the declining legitimacy of mainline news. I mean, news channels or news programs today look more like entertainment shouty.
So you do feel there's a decline in legitimacy?
150%. There is a horrible decline in the legitimacy of mainstream news, which is why fake news is able to travel and people believe it. The two are absolutely correlated. If you had respectable spaces where news was trusted, you would not see this necessarily, this sort of embracing or the willingness to believe what's absolute rubbish. Have you ever, sorry,
No, that's another thing. We should set some ground rules.
my
Whatever
instinct-
question I ask you,
my instinct is taking over.
you can't ask me back, what do you feel? That's not, today that is not happening. So I can ask you anything I want. No, but okay, so speaking of trust,
Yeah.
coming to my next point, what do you feel of paid news? Because that, as we all know, MediaNet, it's a thing, you know, and it exists.
Yeah.
And we've all been a part of it. But what do you feel about that? Do you feel like
I think it's a terrible thing.
it is a terrible thing?
It's a terrible thing. I mean, there are no two ways to say that. But what's really odd is that while TV gets all the gullies, this is actually much more a print phenomenon. It's even worse in states where local media, politicians have actually told me that they will not get covered unless they give some money to a local sort of media behemoth. Then we know MediaNet in the entertainment world. I don't think that we can talk about trusting the media if we're actually willing to buy space. But it is a thin line because we also have to be careful that advertising does not rule our content, right? I can say today grandly, I have never sort of indulged in paid news, and that would be true. But there is the tyranny of the market. There is the tyranny of the market forces. I would not like to take an advertisement from Fair and Lovely. But till I own my channel or my venture, how do I have a say in that ad? So I feel that the revenue models are so flawed and so difficult for all of us that it's easy for me to be lofty, but I feel that even I have compromised in some ways by virulently opposing fairness products, but having them till recently, you know, when a lot of channels have taken the position that they won't broadcast them, but for years, we've been broadcasting products that I ideologically absolutely loathe. So I feel that I'm part of that, or I'm complicit in that sad compromise. Not paid news, but a sad compromise.
So do you feel like a hypocrite? Like, do you feel that
Sometimes
sense?
I do. Sometimes I do feel like a hypocrite because, I mean, I wanted to live a certain life when I was 18. I wanted to live a certain life when I was 25. There were things I didn't want to do, maybe, and this is an example. Like, this is something I feel really terrible at having to do. The other thing I feel terrible at having to do is be nice to people I hate. You know, so like, yeah, I compromise every day in small
Why don't you
ways.
give us an example? Please, some names of people.
No, I mean, they're like, you know, with public figures, my job is to get an interview. My job is also, I'm not an actor, but I do need to soften up people. It's like lamb before the slaughter, like fatten the lamb before the slaughter, right? Hang on, hang on. There's one very agitated guy here who obviously doesn't like me, who's been waiting for you to grill me. But anyway, so, you know, the point is that there is that fake niceness. We all have to do it. You're much more in the public eye than I am, but I'm also somewhat minorly in the public eye, and I do have to smile.
That's called small talk. It's not fake niceness. You do the good talk and the big talk and the true talk, but then you have to also do
No,
the
if
small
I
talk.
really hate somebody, it'll show on my face. I'm pretty transparent.
I'm sure. But which actually brings me to my next question, which is, where do you draw the line between professional and personal news? Because see, at the end of the day, we're all human. So for example, if you don't like someone, or if someone has behaved badly with you, or for example, maybe if I today rejected coming here and, you know, would behave terribly with you, would you somehow take it out on me in the future through your work? Unknowingly?
No, news cannot become a mechanism for personal vendetta. It's absolutely unacceptable. It is absolutely abhorrent. You have to be able to report on people without that prejudice. And secondly, on the dimension of personal news, I really have a problem with people's personal lives becoming the scrutiny of news. I think personal lives of actors, politicians, anybody are none of anybody's business unless they involve a larger public issue. So let me give you an example. So if a politician is gay, but he or she supports the criminalization of homosexuality, which I absolutely oppose, then I want to know that the politician is gay because he or she is a hypocrite. But if that politician is, wants 377 to go and is gay, I think it's his or her choice to decide whether to reveal it or not. So when it comes to issues of violence, harassment, abuse of power or hypocrisy, I think I have a right to know somebody's personal life. I think in every other case, people's lives as consenting adults has to be off limits. So that's one dimension on personally. And two, too many journalists and their egos are using news as vendetta machines. That's abhorrent. And I can say proudly, I have never done that. Never, ever.
But can I get personal with you?
I may not answer it, which is what all of you do.
Oh, that's my
That's
standard
your pet
answer.
line. So I'll give you your standard line.
My standard, no, I won't share my answer with you. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But speaking about personal, do you get, I won't get deep into it because I know how disturbing it is to talk about your personal life, but do you have a personal life? Like, do you have a social life, I would say? Do you meet up with friends? Do you take holidays? Do you go to the spa? I want to know, when was the last time you had a massage? Do you like massages? Because I don't like massages. Are you fond of food? What is it?
I love food. Okay. I can answer that.
But everyone loves food. But okay, but
everybody doesn't love food.
What about most people?
I had a t-shirt once at my journalism school that said, I write for food. I write for food. I love food. Food for me is this experiential thing. I love street food. I'm what in Punjabi they call a chitora. I would eat safe puri from morning to night if I could. On the other stuff, I don't have that much of space and time to have much of a social life. A lot of my social engagements end up becoming professional chores. Like they're places you have to go to. You would know this much more than anybody else to show your face because you've got to. I love.
But sorry to cut you in, but I wouldn't expect someone like you or just you basically to do things out of nicety. I feel like you're very
not
clear.
Out of niceness, but if it involves my work. So for example, if there is an evening that involves meeting somebody that I need to know for work or I need to meet for something, then yes, but no. I'm not particularly nice.
So no spa? No holiday? When was the last time you took a holiday?
So, holiday though I don't remember, but it's funny that you talk about a spa because I like to believe that much as my life has somewhat changed externally from the time I became a reasonably well-known journalist, I'm pretty much the same person that I was when I was 18. I grew up in a very middle-class neighborhood of Delhi. I lived in that neighborhood for 40 years. For anyone from Delhi, it's called Jangpura Extension. Jangpura Extension had a beauty parlor in a garage called Mem Sahib. The idea of a beauty parlor was it was the size of a cupboard where two women gave you what we call in Hindi a chilamchi, a plastic little bucket, which was their idea of a pedicure, and simultaneously they put oil in your head, and there's nothing I find more reassuring than to return to the familiarity of this cupboard-sized Mem Sahib beauty parlor in Jangpura Extension to feel like nothing external in my life has changed me internally.
That's so lovely. So you want to stay connected to your roots no matter what. Because
I think this world of public attention is fake and ephemeral. It doesn't mean anything. You don't know who your friends are. You don't know why they talk to you. You know this comes and goes as easily. Look, I've been hated, I've been loved. What I like is I've never been ignored. I don't give a shit about the rest. I really don't give a shit about the rest. My friends are people who knew me from before I was this person. They knew me when I was a young kid. I was the same person. Tomorrow, if I stopped being this person on TV or on this stage, they'd love me just the same. I advise young journalists all the time, the one thing you need to be careful about is to not take attention too seriously. Neither the accolades nor the criticism, none of these people really care about you. When you're up, they want to be up with you. When they're down, they want to pull you down further. It doesn't matter. Ignore all this bullshit.
do you ever feel scared? Because, I mean, you've been through a lot of ups and downs, and there have been times where your life has been in immediate threat or danger. So has there been a moment where you just felt like, oh my God, this is not worth it and I'm just scared?
So there are two kinds of fear. One is a physical fear, and I have definitely felt it. Reported a lot. I've reported a war. I've reported from Libya, Egypt, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, a lot of times in very high militancy phases of Kashmir. I've had near brushes with life and death, and people used to be nice in those days and say, oh, you're fearless. And I would always say, no, I'm not fearless. Like, I remember when I was covering the Kargil war, it was before there were satellite vans, it was before there were mobile phones, and my entire energy would be consumed in how do I send this tape back to Delhi. So I would walk for kilometers to find a helicopter that was carrying the coffins of our soldiers back to Delhi, and I would beg the chopper pilot, can you carry my tape back? I would spend all my energy trying to duck the shell that was falling from the Pakistani side to just make it out in one piece. So what happened was that the adrenaline took over the fear. And because I was also self-conscious about being a woman at the war front and not being seen as weak, I suppressed that fear even more. And for months, I felt nothing. And then 6 months later, I started getting these recurring nightmares where I would just wake up in the middle of the night and I would remember the bodies I had seen. I would remember the coffins I had counted. So it comes later. So physical fear, in the job, the adrenaline takes over, but it makes you dysfunctional in other ways. Psychological fear, I'm stubborn. I won't say I've never felt fear, but I have sometimes felt creeped out, right? When you're trolled really badly with a rape threat. Last year, I actually deposed before a magistrate because I used to keep getting these calls from a group of men who would obviously be sitting around a speakerphone who would say, we're coming to rape you, right? And then they would call from internet lines, so the numbers couldn't be traced because they were using VPN. And I did go and file a case. They were never found. And I had security briefly, but I hated having security as a journalist, so I gave it, I said, take this away. And it was creepy. But the thing with fear is it's a mind game. No one is fearless, but you can't let the fear rule you. You have to rule the fear. That's the best you can do.
I think that's very, very well said. So if I were to ask you today, if you were starting out today and you were to choose a career path today, would you still choose the same path?
It's a great question, and the answer is no.
Really?
Even though I have loved every single moment of being a journalist for 22 years, what I see in news today does not inspire me. It does not inspire me because I feel that people have stopped going out of the studio. Why did I become a journalist? I became a journalist because it pulled me out of my comfort zone. It took me to places I had never experienced. It made me meet people I had never met. It challenged my assumptions. It made me learn. I was the bridge between viewers and something that was happening that they couldn't reach. Nobody moves out of their studio. Nobody's willing to spend money on news gathering. There's a deliberate polarization of the conversation. Anchors are deliberately choosing people who'll shout at each other because they want people to watch them and news to be entertaining. Sadly to say, men and women are spending too much time on how they look instead of what stories they're telling. And it's terrible because I see reporters being just as hungry. But the way news is being managed and the way news is being run today is not inspiring to me. It is not inspiring to me because I've experienced a different phase where you could go out and tell stories, and there is nobody telling stories anymore.
So like you were rightfully saying that you were on the front line of the reportage during the Kargil war. Do you believe that more of an impact and change can happen? What do you feel? Being in the studio or being on ground?
On ground.
On ground.
On ground. And I regret that in the last few years I couldn't go out of the studio as much as I wanted, but in a heartbeat, if the capital were available, I am never as happy as when I am if you put me in the front seat of an Innova and send me to a place with perfect strangers where I know nobody, I know no names, I'm out in the boondocks, I'm eating wonderful street food, I'm telling some difficult story. There has not been a single moment that makes me as happy as that moment. But news doesn't offer that opportunity for those moments anymore. Or offers very few opportunities. And there is a certain skill to being a studio anchor, but it doesn't compare with the skill that you need to tell a story. And you know, we've been very unfair to our reporters. For every reporter in this room, the terrible thing that television has done is to make the anchors more important than the reporters. The anchors would be nothing without your stories.
I was really looking forward to that answer because I really wanted to know that if you've been in the studio for so long, like, does someone really want to go back to where they started off?
Oh my God, I could go back anytime. I love going out.
So you said that if you were given the option today, you wouldn't choose this path. So
No.
what would you choose if not journalism? What would
I'd
you
want to
choose?
be a lawyer.
Really?
My law.
I think you'd be a very good lawyer. It'd be very difficult to disagree with you.
Thank you. My entrance to my law faculty exam and my mass communication exam was on the same day. So I had to make a choice when I was very young, and then things just happened on their own, but I always also wanted to be a lawyer. And the problem with me is I want to do too many things, and there's not enough time and not enough years to get them done.
Is there anything that, are you one of those people who says never say never? That if someone comes with you with an opportunity of maybe doing something, maybe, with creatively, with movies, or to act, or to write, or to, somebody comes with your life rights and say, okay, we want to make a Netflix series on you, and we want you to act in it.
I'd do it.
Would you be open to it?
I'm open to most things. Unless I sort of have an ideological problem with them, I'm open to most things.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're pretty, you're not rigid.
I'm pretty chilled,
You're
actually.
pretty chilled. That's the millennial word.
Except when I get angry.
Okay.
And I do get angry a lot.
That's okay. We like you when you're angry.
Thanks.
Also. Okay, so since we're talking about women, and this is a women conference, and I'm from the film industry, I get this question a lot, that how do you feel women are being portrayed on celluloid today, and their portrayal and their characters, how do you think it's influencing the people? So first I want to know, do you get the chance to watch movies? Do you have the time?
I binge watch TV serials, and I watch movies also.
Whenever you get the time. You like to be in touch.
Oh,
basically.
yeah. I wanted to make documentaries, not be a journalist. I trained in film and television production. That was my first degree. I was a sound mixer in the PCR when I started. I did not think I'd be a reporter or an anchor. I love the technical dimensions of it.
So what is your view on the creative aspect of it, on the characters that women are playing today in the Hindi film industry? And do you think that they're getting stronger? Do you feel there are more actresses like a Kangana, like a Vidya, like a Deepika who
And
are...
you. No, and I'll tell you why. I was so relieved that in Dear Zindagi, you and Shah Rukh Khan did not have an affair. Because honestly, to now, and therefore in some ways for me that movie belonged to you. Because if that movie had culminated in your romance with Shah Rukh, the movie would have belonged to him. And in some way you remain the epicenter of that film because, you know what, you owned that moment, right? So I think it is changing, but I feel very confused about item numbers. My feminism gets all muddled. Because I'm a great person in support of choice, and I think women should choose what the hell they want to do. But I'm like, kind of not fully convinced that this sort of male gaze, traveling camera over somebody's navel and breast is necessarily liberal. But then I've interviewed women who choose to do this, and they say we choose to do it, and it has empowered us in ways that matter to us, and then I shut up. Yeah, so I'm confused.
So I'm saying, that was going to be my next question. Don't you look at it also in a way that, they're confident of their bodies and themselves, and they don't, they don't care whether it's...
I totally do, but what worries me is when a 3-year-old girl at a shadi starts kind of dancing to a very hyper-sexualized... So see, I'm not a conservative at all, and I think we really have to lift the shroud over sexuality, which is why I'm saying I'm confused, and I don't know what people here think, but I really struggle with this because little kids are now sort of doing song numbers.
It's a catch-22, I guess.
It's a catch-22,
yeah.
But I'm all for choice. I'm not judgmental. I'm just saying ideologically I'm confused, and I want to ask you, what do you feel about it?
You can ask me.
I'm feeling very chained.
Yeah,
I can't ask you questions.
We'll chat when we're done from this stage. You mentioned feminism, and that's become my favorite word because I feel like we are speaking about it so much. Hashtag feminism, hashtag feminism. I want to hear from you, number one, what feminism means, because I feel like that's a big misconception of what it actually means. And yeah, what it means to you, and what do you feel about the whole misconception around feminism?
So I don't get I don't get the resistance to the word. I don't get if, but, maybe, I am, but.
There can't be resistance because feminism, what is it? Am I giving an answer? What is your answer?
We're all slipping to our natural roles, right? No, I'm just saying for me, feminism, I said this in the day also, feminism means freedom. And feminism means I can be who I want to be, right? Now, I know choice is a kind of loaded word in gender. What seems like free choice is actually the product of so many different influences. But why are people so scared of this word? What is it about this word that, you know, it's like the F word that can't be said because the other F word we all use quite freely. But this F word like imprisons us. No, it's such a complicated word. It's such a tough word. I mean, what is it?
I don't think many people understand it. I feel a lot of the times I've heard it to be like, oh, we don't like men. And I don't think that's, I've heard that. I've heard answers like this as well. And I've been asked this question many times, and I've obviously given my opinion on what it means to me: equality, freedom, right to be, and others being okay with your right to be, all of that. So I want to know if you feel that, as you rightfully said, that you don't understand the problem with this word. So you sense that there's a bit of a unnecessary hoo-ha with the word feminism.
Totally. What is it? I mean, it's a big, this space, we the women, I can bet, you know, 300, 400 of us have not agreed on every single issue today. But we're here, we're together, and they're men too. And I believe that many men I know are feminists, and I know many women who are not feminists. So, and similarly, I think misogyny is gender neutral. I think feminism is gender neutral too. Feminism is just about equality and freedom. It's not rocket science. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I wore a t-shirt that said my boyfriend is a feminist too.
Yeah.
So that I don't have a boyfriend, but I could. So we spoke about women in the film industry and their portrayal. What is your take on the women of the country? Do you feel that there is a change in the women of the country today? Or do you feel there's...
I think there is some change, but it's not critical mass enough for us to cross the Rubicon. So, for example, I'm just staggered by what's happening in the United States of America, where every day you see one more famous man pulled down from his pedestal because he was actually abusing his power and harassing somebody who worked with him or who was his junior in the hierarchy. And I just feel that here, while we all did #MeToo and wrote our Facebook posts, our capacity to name names, the protection that the system would offer us, the ease of access to legal systems, the sense that, okay, if we take names, we won't be judged. I don't know that we're there yet. Also, I feel that we're a very diverse country. We can't copy and paste a certain idea of Western feminism and replicate it here because we have differences of caste, class. So, you know, in feminism, they call it the intersectionality of the gender conversation. So what it basically means is that I'll share a small story. I don't want to bore anybody, but my first story as a reporter was I was sent to cover the gang rape of a woman called Bhavri Devi in a village in Rajasthan. And I think it must have been 1994. And I go to this village, and I'm straight out of St. Stephen's College. I have this complete textbook notion of feminism. I think I'm a really cool feminist. I think the only feminist issues that matter are whether you take your husband's name, and, you know, I don't want a man paying for me, and, oh, I'll never get married, and all the rest of that. And then I walk into this village, and this woman has been raped because she is a Dalit by so-called upper caste men, because she worked with a government agency whose job was to stop child marriages. And she protested against the child marriage of a one-year-old child. A one-year-old child. She was raped by the men in a village for stopping the gang rape of a one-year-old child. And when she protested, she was pushed to the margins of a village where she lived. Now, there's another thing I want to share. We now have sexual harassment guidelines that are compulsory. This lady, Bhavri Devi, her case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court then decided, based on a case, to lay down these guidelines, right? So we actually all owe these guidelines to a poor Dalit woman called Bhavri Devi, in whose own case, the rapists have still not been punished. It's been over 2 decades, right? So, all of this makes me feel, who am I to make sweeping comments on anyone else's issues? I'm a woman of privilege. My battles have been battles, but they haven't been these battles.
So, what is your idea on, and if you had to describe India today in 3 words, how would you? India, in 3 words.
Plural, noisy, fascinating. I ran out of words.
3, you gave 3. Plural, noisy, and fascinating. It's quite lovely. And where do you see, it's the most cliched question, but I feel like I have to ask you this question.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
No, 10 years from now.
Oh, no, that's tough.
Hopefully getting a massage.
In Mem Sahib Beauty Parlor,
In Mem Sahib Beauty
Extension.
Parlor.
10 years from now, I will be 55, and I hope that I'm working for myself and that I never have to answer to an owner or an employer ever again in my life.
Okay, so those are all the serious questions, and we've got them out of the way.
Ooh, there's
now,
more. Oops.
We're going to have some fun.
Oops.
This is what I call banter with Barkha. So it's my version of coffee with Karan, although I'm not trying to be like Karan because I can't. He is really one of a kind. So we're going to have a little rapid fire round to have some fun questions, and then we'll open the question to the audience, okay? If you could have any 3 men on your speed dial, who would they be? It could be anyone. Just this is your life right now. Like, just do everything you want.
Justin Trudeau.
Okay.
Do you agree? No, I'm not an Obama fan. Who?
It's rapid, it's rapid.
Okay, sorry. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Modi, and my Bhelpuri wala.
What? And your Bhelpuri wala. Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, 3 women on your speed dial. Who would they be? Quick, come on.
I'm not used to this. Okay. 3 women on my speed dial.
It has to be quick.
I can't. Okay. Malala Yousafzai.
Okay, yeah.
Someone saying Sushma Swaraj. Come on, help me here, guys. Can I take a KBC lifeline or something?
No.
Come on,
No,
come
no,
on,
no
come
one
on,
can
come on,
help.
come
No
on,
one
come on,
can
come on,
help.
come on.
I didn't get any help.
Come on,
Come
come on,
on.
come on, come on.
No.
Alia Bhatt.
Okay. No, you can't take my name because I'm sitting over here now.
Why not?
Okay, fine. Alia Bhatt. Then
my massage wali. That's true. Since we were speaking about massages all evening, and no. I have a lady called Saraswati ji who runs my home, and if she did not exist, I would not be able to work. So Saraswati ji.
Absolutely understand your feelings. Okay, 3 things you always have in your bag or always have with you.
Otrivin nose drops, Allegra, and one hearing of the other part that I have lost by the end of the day. I lose a pair every day.
Okay, are you a jhole wali or like a Birkin wali?
Neither. I don't carry a bag.
You don't carry a bag? So there's your earring and your octave.
वो functional driver के साथ रहता है. I never go out with one.
Acha, on the go. Okay. One person you most want to interview, like you're dying to interview. You haven't yet.
Donald Trump.
Can we please be pleasant while you do this interview? We want tickets.
No, because I just think that I don't know, he's crazy, but he's narcissistic and he loves the media, but he hates the media, and I don't know if he's acting or he's all there, or is he for real, or is he playing a part, and he'd be demented, but he'd be fine.
What's your first question that you would ask him?
Is that hair real?
I think it's very real. Okay, one interview you regret doing. Come on,
Oh God.
out
yeah.
with it.
Your questions are damn tough. We are much kinder to you than you are to us, yeah?
No, please, come on.
One interview I regret doing. Any guesses?
It could be because of your...
Who?
Who?
Rahul Gandhi. No, I didn't.
Could it be because of something that you did as well, in case you want to be diplomatic?
Oh, you mean that if I wasn't prepared enough?
No, I'm giving you a out if you want. I would rather you say it's because someone else.
No, you please wait. you wait, I will deal with you separately at the end of the show. I don't think I regret any interview I've done, but I think some of my interviews have been flops. And like I interviewed Sonia Gandhi, and I think it was a total failure because I could not get her to drop her mask. Similarly, every time I've interviewed Mr. Bachchan, I cannot get him to say anything beyond what everybody already knows. I just cannot. He is such an accomplished actor that you cannot get him to drop that veil at all. Similarly, Mrs. Gandhi is so reserved. So, you know, those interviews are not fun for people to watch because I'm a total failure at them.
Okay, fair enough, I'll give it to you. Between a politician and an actor, who would you rather date?
Politician.
Why?
Because actors spend too much time wondering about how they look and how they dressed, and then I can't, and then they'll say, don't eat so much because you'll be fat and all, and I can't do all that.
Okay. Which news channel do you watch or like watching?
None.
Really?
And even when I worked in one, I didn't watch any. I binge watch. I have watched every Netflix series, every TV serial ever made abroad. Not so many here, and I read, and I do not watch news.
Okay. Would you trust a boyfriend with your phone password?
No.
Nice, I like it. Do you have your boyfriend's phone password?
No. No,
Okay.
it's privacy. It's like invasion to have each other's phone passwords.
Your guilty pleasure is?
No, I know Bhelpur is getting to be a boring answer. My guilty pleasure, I hate shopping. So when I shop, I spend a lot of money in one go so I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what to wear.
So that's your guilty pleasure?
It's not pleasure, but it's guilt.
Okay. Guilt regardless. It's just guilt. Okay, what's the one thing that you could, if you could change about the film industry, what would that be?
Pay women as much as men.
Okay, nice. A turning point in your life.
The Kargil War.
Okay, so one word for each of the following.
Oh, God.
Kangna Ranaut.
Gutsy.
Priyanka Chopra.
Ballsy.
Deepika Padukone.
Brave.
Salman Khan.
Opaque. I don't know what he's about.
Karan Johar.
A Yaro Ka Yar.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Mysterious.
And me?
Underestimated.
Dekha. Okay, quickly now. 3 things that you would do if you had a superpower. I mean, if you had a superpower, firstly, what would that superpower be? And then
Like if I could be Wonder Woman.
yeah. If you
And
were,
like kill at will and shoot at will and all that.
actually, the question should be, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Sorry, changing the question.
Time machine.
You want to go back in time?
I mean...
and change something or
like
just go back?
people always say, oh, I lived it my way, Frank Sinatra, all that. I don't have any regrets. I have many regrets. I would like to, I mean, I've made terrible choices. I've hurt people sometimes inadvertently. I've made wrong professional decisions. I would like a time machine.
Okay. What is the worst criticism you've received for yourself as a journalist?
When people will question your integrity or say, like, just because they can to you on the internet that, oh, you endangered the lives of people here. or people there. And then, initially when they used to say this to me, I would argue with them and I would put facts before them and I would say, but this is not true and this is not true and this is what happened. And then I just realized that it's a smear, it's an instrument of smear, but it was really hurtful when I was younger. Now I don't care.
And what would be, today, what would your one piece of advice be for these critics, people who said this, if they were listening to you today?
I know what really bugs them about me is that they think they can silence me, but in Hindi there's a word called dheet, and the more you attack me, the more I will push back.
Nice.
So if you really want to shut me down, try being nice to me.
Okay. An overrated and underrated journalist according to you. Overrated first.
Hey, yo, what are these questions?
Last, now, overrated.
Arnab Goswami.
See, we're asking you these questions because you give these good answers also. And number 2?
Underrated.
Underrated?
Any cues? No, he's not underrated. He's had his moment in the sun.
Could be someone new, someone like maybe people's not heard of, but you have. Could be no one also.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone.
Okay. And an international leader of the past that you admire.
Hillary Clinton. Whoever she was, whatever she was, she fought till the bitter end, and she taught us that women will probably spend all of our lives fighting. No matter where you reach, who you are, what you do, they'll say terrible things about you, and you will have to keep some reserve energy to fight. I admire Hillary.
And I want to end this question, this rapid fire on a bright note. If you had to describe the color yellow to someone without using the word yellow, how would you?
Luminous, vibrant, beginning.
That is lovely. And that is the end of Banter with Barkha. I think you did very, very well.
Do I get a hamper?
No. You get a hug if you want. I can give you a hug.
Tell me, what do you all get in those hampers?
Oh, we get a lot of very expensive things. Okay, so now where we can open the... Yes, there are a lot of questions. I don't need to say anything. Can we have a mic that is just passed around, please?
No, there'll be somebody there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Barkha.
Hi.
My name is Ashish.
Hi.
So putting into perspective two things, that this conference is about women and the voice that young millennials are getting today through social media and other platforms, and the day that we have had so far, what is your specific advice to young millennial men for we the women?
It's a great question, and I think one of the wonderful things that I've seen among younger men, it certainly did not happen in my time, although I've known some feminist men, but I saw it when the Nirbhaya rape happened, and with Jyoti's mother's permission, I'd like to say her name because I find this sort of veiling of people, of rape survivors / victims' names, one of the problems is the stigma attached to it. But when that happened, I saw young men and women, millennials, marching together. When they were, sanitary pads were used as a protest idiom in universities, I actually saw a young man who created that campaign, right? My advice, I'm nobody to give you advice, but I do believe that your generation is at that intersection where you can actually mainline the gender conversation, take it out of the margins and put it in the center. And, you're living in a brilliant time when women are finding their voice and men are willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. So, I wish I'd grown up knowing men like that. Should I? Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I actually have two questions directed towards you.
For me?
Yeah, for you.
No.
Yay!
The questions are only for... No. The questions are only for Barkha ji today.
I have one question for you.
Okay,
Can I ask you one question?
Ask her now, give her one. You're not letting me ask, but she can ask you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I understand that social media is really important now these days, to promote, to connect with your fans. But then there's a lot of criticism, trolls. So I want to understand your attitude towards this and how do you deal with it? What positivity do you get into yourself? Because every day you have to get up and, you might read messages which might disappoint you at some point of time. So what is your attitude towards it? How do you deal with it?
I think the same way that I deal with appreciation, Of course, I feel grateful whenever there is appreciation from whichever end it's coming from. But like Barkha ma'am rightfully said,
Are you calling me ma'am?
I have to, na?
No, please, yeah.
I feel the need.
Please.
Okay, like Barkha rightfully said, you have to learn to just not care about it. You have to take it in from one ear and take it out, not let the appreciation get to your head, and not let the criticism or the failures get to your heart. Because at the end of the day, I believe the only constant in life is change. So it's there tomorrow, there today, it won't be there tomorrow. Now we can't keep on asking me questions. Huh? Questions are only for...
Hello, Barkha ma'am.
Yes,
My
yes.
question is to Barkha ma'am.
Yes.
Barkha.
Sorry, Barkha. Yeah, I'm actually big fan of you, and I'm really feel regret means when you left this mainstream media, and now coming to that point, how are you going to address the ground audience? Because now you are using technology, and we are actually we were using TV or mainstream media. So now how you will address this all issue through the technology?
I've understood. One is that I haven't left mainstream media forever. I've just taken a break from it so I could do the things I really wanted to, like this conference. I've been living and breathing nothing else but creating this for the last few months. It's not that I'm never going to go back to TV. I'll go back to it on my own terms, in my own time, maybe sometime next year. So it's not like I'm giving that up. You can never take the journalist out of me. Even here, I believe that to curate a festival like this is an act of journalism. We have applied our mind to it. We have thought deeply through this. We have found people. We have done research. We have gone out and brought stories to you on stage. Secondly, I am still giving you content. This is still the same Barkha. If you have to watch me on a phone, or if you have to watch me on a laptop, it doesn't change anything. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. Yes, ma'am, in the check shirt.
Hi, Barkha.
Oh,
Where are you?
Hi.
okay, there's someone in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, this is Medha. It's totally an honor to ask you a question. I aspire to be a journalist myself, although I'm from a banking field. So I want to understand, there have been many times, I'm sure, and I was very surprised when you said that I don't watch the news. So I want to understand, like, when there has been a situation where you don't know what to do, and I'm sure there have been many times where maybe you don't know which question to ask, or is this right or is this wrong, because you're live on screen and there are millions of people watching you. What do?
You learn over time to have your mind think at 2 levels. So I don't know if you know, but when you host a show, there is you may have seen me wearing it earlier in the day, there's a earpiece that you wear, you have in your ear, and there's somebody talking to you in it, right? And they're telling you, for example, like let's say, I'll tell you what happened right now. So we were running a little late. We were meant to do another session, but then we ran late and Alia came. I started introducing something else. And midway through, somebody came running to me and they gave me a card and they said, Alia's here, you've got to go to Alia now. And I had to midstream change what I was saying. And I'll tell you the little trick to it. No audience wants to see you perfect. It's absolutely okay to fumble. It's absolutely okay to say, oops. If your mic fails, say, hey, hang on, my mic failed, let me get another one. Today, a lot of times, the ushers couldn't find all of you because the hall was packed. I called people up. So what happens is you learn it over time. Mostly, I always say to people, the trick about the camera, I mean, Alia should be answering this, but the trick about the news camera, people trust you when you're yourself. Oprah is a great example of that, right? It's about authenticity. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter fair, dark, fat, thin. If you are yourself and they believe you to be authentic, you can fumble, make mistakes, your audience will forgive you.
Okay, one last question, guys. One last question. Yeah, ma'am, in the red check shirt.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Hi, Barkha. I have always admired you as a journalist, truly.
Thank you.
There are 2 questions I need to ask you. One, having covered so many stories and, been through this whole phase, that one story that really made a difference to you, except for Kargil Wall, because I know
It would
that's
have
truly...
to be Kargil. It would always be Kargil. My answer would always be that.
Okay, and the second question, being so opinionated and strong-minded that you are, do you believe in a a positive power, a superpower, God, for example, or any of that undefined land?
So I'm an agnostic. What I mean by that is I believe that there is a life force that I do not understand. I call that life force God. I'm multicultural. I enjoy the cultures of all faiths, but I am not religious. I do not identify myself by any religion, but I'm strangely childish in terms of guilt and retribution. I always feel if I've done something bad, I'll be punished. So I think I have a Catholic heart in me, but I enjoy all places of worship as sometimes architecture, sometimes cultural experiences. I'm not religious, but I do believe that God is a life force.
Okay, so that's it. I'm really sorry, guys, who want to ask more questions, but time's up.
No, but I get to take over for just 10 seconds.
Okay.
Just 10 seconds.
Okay, fine. Now the
do you,
time's up.
do you, do you like being interviewed or interviewing?
I was actually just going to say that I really enjoyed this. I loved interviewing, and I loved interviewing you because I got some very honest, open answers, and I think I've totally understood what you guys go through when you're sitting with someone and you have to ask them questions and they're just giving you these like boring answers and they're just not saying anything. You totally understand what you go through. So I'm actually feeling very, very, like I feel like I have a new side to me suddenly.
But I want to say one thing to you. I've never thought that I would ever have to be, I'm never short for words, but you actually stumped me a few times, so you were a great interviewer. Thank you so much. And I get to take over the proceedings for 1 second, Alia, don't leave.
Okay.
There is an award, you know about this, can we bring it up? It's called the Her Award. We've been awarding women of excellence, courage, and also women who are not scared to experiment, who are not scared to take risks. Her stands for Hope, Empowerment, Rise. I'd like to call Nishtha Satyam on stage and the award please to present Alia Bhatt from all of us, the Her Award. Nishtha, come on in. Let's have a big round of applause for the wonderful, absolutely brilliant actor, not scared to take risks, Alia Bhatt.
That's so much.
Come on, let's hear it for Alia. We can clap louder than that. I know it's the end of the day, but we can clap louder than that. Come on.